Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Welcome to a wild, wonderful Wednesday. It's one of them sorts of days where we can stick with the alliteration. It's wild, it's wonderful, it's Wednesday. Let's talk about weed. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Just to be clear, in case anybody's getting nervous about why it is that we won't be over here talking about weed, I'm not the one who brought up the discussion of talking about the weed. In fact, of all people to bring up talking about the weed, it was David Stern. You may remember David Stern, little short dude, used to be a commissioner of the NBA. Yeah. You may remember him. Anyway, he wound up doing an interview with our guy Al Harrington, who will be joining us a little bit later on the show. And as you know, Al Harrington has been working with the idea of marijuana. Like, Shannon, do we ever, like, is he working for legalization? Is he just like, y'all need to stop tripping?
Like, so what is it, like a cannabis farmer?
Well, yeah. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, the best way to encapsulate the work that it is that he's doing when he's not, smoking weed with his grandmama. Okay, he didn't smoke weed with his grandmama. He said he got a vaporizer for his grandmama, but I'm using smoke weed in a very broad sense of the term. Anyway, Al had this conversation with David Stern. Now, remember, the NBA has this prohibition against smoking marijuana, but the NBA prohibition did not come into effect until 1999. Like, that's when they brought that around, was in 1999, which, I mean, it's a little late in the game to be out here tripping on that at that moment. But, it seems that David Stern has had some sort of awakening. The first one.
I'm now at the point where, personally, I think it probably should be removed from the banned list. You've persuaded me.
Oh, Al Harrington out here changing minds. That's also a big talk, from the man that is actually no longer the commissioner. Now, Adam Silver says that he doesn't see any need to change the rules. Now, I will get into why Adam Silver is right and wrong all at the same time. But David Stern went a little bit further also. And, well, he thinks that they should get it off the list, but apparently he thinks they should get it off the list, like, kind of, sort of. Check this out.
I think we got to change the collective bargaining agreement and let you do what's legal in your state. I don't think if marijuana is now in the process of being legalized, I would think you should be allowed to do what's legal in your state.
Now, of course, the problem, if I'm not mistaken, and Shannon, if I'm forgetting any of these states, you let me know which it is. But I believe that the only states we got now that are full legal in the way that he's discussing, not like decriminalized, but legal, are like California, Oregon, Washington, and Colorado, right?
Those are the ones that I had, yeah.
Now, we already got a problem with the West having all the talent, right? Like, is that not already our issue that these cats are all becoming free agents? They always wind up going to the West. Like, all of a sudden, Portland's going to be like, hey, man, come holler at your boys. That's why they're not going to let it. It can't work that way. It can't be on some, if it's legal in your state, it could be legal here. That is, Shannon, that's almost like giving a team a higher salary cap.
It's a recruiting advantage.
Yeah, that's absolutely a recruiting advantage. You're damn right it's a recruiting advantage. And now, by the way, all of a sudden, Sacramento is like, yeah, the front office is chaotic. But when you get off work, you ain't going to be tripping on none of that, baby. That's Humboldt County right there down the road. What y'all talking about? What you mean? Now, okay. I want to get to why David Stern is like right and wrong at the same time in this one, or where I find it interesting that he is saying this. Because, again, as I said, David Stern was the man over putting in the prohibition against smoking marijuana in 1999 in the NBA. Right. Like, at the dawn of the 21st century, the NBA was like, oh, hold on now. We got a problem with these dudes smoking weed. And here is David Stern talking to Al Harrington on the Uninterrupted about why it was in 99 they decided to do that.
It was sort of generally known at some point, until we tightened the rules, that a lot of our players were smoking a lot of marijuana. In fact, some of our players came to us and said, some of these guys are high coming into the game. But we began tightening it up, and at that time, people accepted the generally held wisdom that marijuana was a gateway drug, and that if you start smoking, you're liable to go on to bigger and better stuff.
Better stuff, you say, David Stern. How do you describe? How do you know? What you out here talking about? Yeah, so that's what it was, man. They want these cats smoking weed because they was afraid they was all going to turn into crackheads. Like somehow, apparently, like let's think about this for a second where the logic falls apart there with David Stern. In the 1980s, the NBA had a legit issue with cocaine. Not that the NBA had more people using cocaine than anywhere else, but for the NBA, it was a particular issue, right? Stanley Cup winning Edmonton Oilers had their own cocaine scandal. Well, only one dude went to jail, as I recall, and you could look up who it was. But they had it, but that no one said the whole league had a problem over there. Baseball had the Pittsburgh drug trials, but the NBA was the one that carried the reputation of being a drug league. If they really, really believed that marijuana was just the gateway into bigger stuff, then they would have put a crackdown on that a long time ago, because they'd have been like, yo, man, we can't have no more of this cocaine stuff. That 1986 draft messed the game up for everybody, right? That's what it would have been if that was actually how they was feeling, right? Like if that was actually what they were talking about. I feel like they would have shut down on that a little bit earlier. The other thing is this. When the NBA put in their rules to stop dudes from smoking weed, they put in a policy. I am firmly of the belief that they only put in a policy to say that they had a policy, because it made the NBA look good to say that they had these cats under control. Because if you go look at what the NBA drug policy actually is, basically, and Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong here, you just got to like pass that training camp drug test and then it's all gravy, right?
Essentially, yes. You pass the test that you know was coming.
That's it. Right? Which I think there's something to, right? Because I think the idea, if you can't pass a drug test that you know is coming, it is entirely possible that you have a problem. But I need to look this up. I meant to say something about this before the show. I would be curious to know what the actual number of players is who have been suspended for violating the policy on marijuana, because it doesn't happen very often. Right? Like, it's really not, there aren't that many days, years where you come up and it's just like, oh, man, somebody got popped smoking marijuana. It doesn't really happen that much. So you think the only cats that's out here smoking weed in the NBA are the dudes that got caught? That small handful? That couple a year? Shannon, you think that's only them?
Of course not. No, we'd be silly. We'd be foolish to assume so.
Yeah, but David Stern's like, look, man, they was coming here high to the games. Your policy was not stopping anybody from showing up high to the games. That being said, I can't understand why it would be at a point if you coming to play basketball and you out here smelling like weed, why people would be like, hold on, I don't know what we gotta do to get this under control, but I don't feel comfortable with this.
I did find it interesting as well that Stern said we had players telling us that other players are showing up to the game high. Which players were those?
Yeah, I would like to know who's snitching, right? Who's out here snitching? And who were they telling? David Stern? Excuse me, Mr. Commissioner, there's a problem down here on the ground level that I feel like somebody need to make you aware of. Nah. Look, man, the league just wanted people to know that they had a policy in place, but they didn't really want no policy in place. They went out here trying to, like, actually suspend people. That's bad for business. Why would they do something silly like that? Now, Adam Silver said that he sees no need to change the rule, and he's right, there's no need to change the rule. Why? Because the rule ain't stopping nobody from smoking weed. Like, I feel like that's the ultimate point that we've got here. The only thing that's really changed in the NBA, the only thing that's changed is they got a policy in place that allows them to then say that they do, in fact, have a policy in place. That's what they got. And that, by the way, was good enough for people. That was pretty much all they needed. Shannon, you know, hockey basically doesn't have a drug policy. You ever looked up their drug policy? Like, I don't even want to take the fun away from people. You look up the NHL drug policy, and I think you can test positive, but that doesn't mean anything happens. They're like, all right, well, as long as you got this thing under control, just keep showing up to work.
Let us know that you're working on it.
Yeah,
we'll accept that.
They're operating on the same principle as most people's jobs. Look, man, as long as you show up to work on time, I ain't really tripping on what you did to get here. Just show up to work on time. That's what they're operating on. That's their whole one. So, yeah, David Stern talking about this. I will say this, though. Like, the picture in my mind of David Stern talking about guys showing up to the games high is once again a reminder of something that we've talked about on this show a little bit, but I would love to see. Like, somebody's got to do like a full book of documentary on this. The foregone era of the NBA between like 1998 and like 2005. Because, Shannon, this sounded like it was Iverson's partners that showed up smelling like weed, and all of a sudden everything had to change.
It's funny how the whole the new marijuana policy, you had the dress code, all of the stuff at the same time, huh?
Right in that era. Like, the dress code it wasn't just Iverson, but it was totally. Iverson picked up the Rookie of the Year with a do-rag on. By the way, on Monday, do-rag was the answer to a clue in the New York Times crossword puzzle. But yes, obviously we're showing up to pick up. They're like, come on, man, we can't do this. No, it can't be this. It can't be this. They're like, okay, we got to get this under control. And now they have the fan-friendly league that they always dreamed of having right now. Good for them. And you dudes still out here smoking weed.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
So we were just talking last segment about David Stern saying that, yeah, he thinks that they should have the reefer in the NBA. At least he says that NBA weed should be legal if it is legal in your state. And that guy's thinking about the different states where it's legal. By the way, we had mentioned different places where it was legal. Last segment, we mentioned Colorado, we mentioned Oregon, we mentioned Washington, and we mentioned California. Apologies to the District of Columbia. We left you guys out. You guys have gone legal. And Shannon, they say that Boston is going legal in June of 2018. Do I have that right? In Massachusetts?
It's coming too. And special shout out to Dave on Twitter. He was like, hey, it's legal in my state, Nevada, too.
Great. I mean, once
you pointed that out.
Yeah, once you guys get a basketball team, I suppose that'll have some measure of relevance to our discussion. Hold up, Shannon, is Boston, they got Al Horford, and then they got Gordon Hayward last year. Like, is Boston now going to become a destination for recruits or free agents?
See, this is what you got to do. ABC, always be recruiting. You had to update and upgrade your facilities. I think that's what Massachusetts did here.
How about this? Is it about time to change the Celtics logo from the four-leaf clover to another plant, shall we say? They already wearing green, right? All right, they get Cypress Hill to play halftime at one of those shows? Went insane, got no brain. Might work out. But anyway, that got us to thinking, as we were going through those states, we heard Oregon and we heard D.C., and that got us to thinking about, different teams throughout this era that, you might have thought of. Basically, it got us thinking about Rasheed Wallace, right? Like, that's what it was. Remember, Rasheed Wallace used to play for the, he played for the Bullets. He didn't even play for the Wizards. He played for the Bullets. Shannon, that squad with Rasheed Wallace, Chris Webber, and Rod Strickland and them boys, it wasn't legal then, was it?
It was Wallace and Wallace Webber and Juwan Howard because Wallace was traded.
Oh, then they traded Wallace for Rod Strickland.
Rod Strickland, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Rod Strickland was like, all right, I'll pick up the slack. Is that what it was? Rod Strickland got himself to D.C.? But it got us to thinking about, again, the Trailblazers, because then Rasheed Wallace went to play for the Trailblazers, the 30 for 30 that we all want to see, that the NBA will never clear the footage for, which is the Portland Jailblazers era, right? So you get Rasheed up there. We had David Stoudemire, who was once arrested for allegedly trying to get 1.5 ounces through the metal detector at the airport, even though that 1.5 ounces was covered in tinfoil. Did we not have Zebo? A young Zebo at that on those squads. That's MTV Cribs era Zebo. The same Zebo who a couple months ago got caught with 2 pounds in his truck.
Wasn't Ruben Patterson on those squads too?
Yes, he was on those squads, and we know that he was on those squads because Zach Randolph broke his jaw that one time. Remember that time that Zach Randolph punched Ruben Patterson, and that whole squad was just ridiculous. But remember, David Stern was saying here that if marijuana is legal in your state, it should be allowed. In fact, go ahead and play that sound right there.
I think we got to change the collective bargaining agreement and let you do what's legal in your state. I don't think if marijuana is now in the process of being legalized, I would think you should be allowed to do what's legal in your state.
Problem is, we were talking about if you were going to put up a PowerPoint presentation as to why it was that they needed to get this marijuana thing under control of the NBA, the first slide would have been the Portland Jailblazers. That would have been the first one. It would have been a picture of Sheed and Zach Randolph with headbands on. Sheed ain't combed his hair in like 3 weeks, and they just standing there looking mad disinterested. And the problem David Stern would have is, in their state, it would have been legal. Shannon, I feel like I just convinced David Stern to change his mind about this whole thing.
The point you brought up last segment in regards to Stern, it's easy for him to say this now.
Yes.
Because he's not the commissioner now.
Right.
But I'm sure if you asked Commissioner David Stern that same question, he would have a totally different answer.
Well, I'll also say this. It is also easy for us to say this now, as none of us were responsible for trying to sell these dudes to America. Right? Like, David Stern is like, look, I understand everything it is that you talk about or what's right. Yeah, you're right. They tripping. These fans are out here tripping. Anyway, how am I supposed to make them stop tripping? I don't really have any way of doing this. These dudes are showing up to the game in 5X T-shirts with 8 of their homeboys. Only 2 of them got all access passes. The security guard is scared to ask the other 3 to stop. Yeah, man, I had to do a little bit of something to get this thing here back under control. It was just a totally different era of everything, right? Because, like, even now, man, these boys want to be fly. These boys want to be fresh. They got their whole outlook. All those boys then wanted to do was be not broke. And once the not broke part was taken care of, they're like, what I need to wear a suit for, baby? I'm rich. Yeah, me and my white T-shirt. I'm rich. And you know how you know I'm rich? Because I got on this white T-shirt, and this chain on top of this white T-shirt cost me $150,000. That's how you know I'm rich. Yeah, these Reeboks, they cost me $75. This watch, $100,000. And what's that smell coming off my shirt? I got green in my pocket, too. And I ain't just talking about money. It's just a different time. It was a totally... Can you imagine, Chad, if we had that NBA now, like as this anthem controversy is going on? Can you imagine if we had that NBA?
Right, not to mention that, we read reports that the ratings for NBA viewership is continuing to going up, and popularity and the crossover success. Yeah. Like, that could have never happened with the guys and the way the league was set up in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Also, by the way, Chad, we forgot about Bonzi Wells. Bonzi Wells, who apparently has a lot of interesting nicknames up around that way, if you look at my Twitter mentions. What was the thing we were just talking about you just mentioned? Oh, yeah, the ratings and stuff like that. Now, imagine this. If we take that era of NBA, right, and bring everything about it into today's time, who's the first reporter to say, so AI, I was just curious to get your thoughts on the American criminal justice system. Right. Now, you want to talk about stories from back in the day? Yeah, you glad we didn't have Twitter when they happened? The bowling alley? Because, Shannon, you were there. Like, not in the bowling alley, but you were in that part of the world when that went on, right?
Would have changed everything. Like, because you would have had people tweeting out videos of everything.
Yes.
Granted, there was a video with that situation anyway, but the way the league was covered then, I couldn't imagine if it was covered like that now.
America, we wouldn't need that. It would tear the whole NBA fandom apart. Like, everything about the world would get torn apart.
Like, just imagine reporters going up to Rasheed Wallace and asking him about what someone else tweeted. Think about that.
Or young Zebo. I bet he won't tweet that again.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Our guest join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Just like our next guest, he's the man in charge at FootballOutsiders.com. Frequent guest here on The Right Time. His name is Aaron Schatz. All right, Aaron, I had talked about this earlier, that the Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe, have the second best point differential in the NFL. But what are your numbers telling you about their actual chances of making the playoffs?
They're actually very, very good, which is, I know, like a complete shock, right? But they are the best defense in the league this year by our numbers. The offense is not as good as that point differential might suggest. I mean, the passing game is not good, but with Fournette, playing well, they managed to have an average offense. And when your defense is that good, it's a good combo. So we end up this week in our playoff simulations, we end up with Jacksonville making the playoffs 79% of the time, which is kind of shocking. But there you are. They're playing that well.
Now, what are your numbers telling you about their quarterback?
Well, their quarterback is not very good, right? So that's not something that's a shock. He's had a couple of good games, but overall, it's not a very good, passing game. He's been sort of average this season, which is, I think, better than anybody would have expected. But over the long term, I don't think it's going to be like that. It's really driven by the defense. The defense is the best in the league. And what's interesting is they're terrible against the run, but they're so strong against the pass that it overwhelms the problems that they have against the run and makes them the best defense in the league.
All right, we're talking to Aaron Schatz of FootballOutsiders.com here on The Right Time. Now, looking on the other conference, how's it looking for the Rams?
The Rams also, it's funny because the biggest, right now, the biggest playoff droughts, right, the longest playoff droughts in each conference are the Rams in one conference and the Buffalo Bills in the other. And we have both teams with a better than even chance of making the playoffs. The Rams make the playoffs 84% of the time. They're number 2 in our ratings this week, which is crazy, right? I mean, that they played that well, but they have, in fact, played that well so far this season. and then Buffalo makes it 64% of the time. So Buffalo, Jacksonville, and the Rams may all end very long playoff droughts this year.
All right, talking to Aaron Schatz, FootballOutsiders.com here on the right time. Now, what's going on with Buffalo to have them looking so good?
Again, it's another team like Jacksonville where you're talking strong defense. Although, I mean, it took a dip this week because Tampa Bay scored a lot of points on them. But we have Buffalo 11th overall. They're about average on offense, but they're number 8 on defense and number 8 on special teams. So they're 4-2. They have a very easy remaining schedule. Obviously they have to play the Patriots twice, and that's not easy. But other than that, the remaining schedule is one of the easier schedules in the league. So things are looking good for them. And the underlying, play-by-play, how well they've played, is so much better than, say Miami, right? Miami's 4-2 also, but their wins have all been like last-second comebacks by 3 points, missed field goals by other teams, whereas Buffalo has had some wins that have been pretty significant.
All right, we're talking to Aaron Schatz of FootballOutsiders.com here on the right time. Now, looking at the Eagles, who have been so good, what are your numbers telling you about them?
I mean, the Eagles have been really good. It's hard to get around that. Obviously, look, I mean, when you get halfway through the season, wins and losses matter for how well you're going to do in the playoffs, maybe more than how good a team you are, because that home field advantage and that number one seed is really important. So Philadelphia, we actually have them 4th in our ratings right now. So might be a little surprised that they're not number 1. But when you combine that with being 6-1, they go to the playoffs 96% of the time. They get the number 1 seed 42% of the time. They are strong on offense, and they're really strong on special teams. Carson Wentz, I think, is our number 4 quarterback this season. So, I mean, things are going pretty well for Philadelphia right now. I think there's nothing wrong with being 4th in our ratings. It's not a big deal to be 4th instead of 1st. All
right, talking to Aaron Schatz of FootballOutsiders.com. Now, with the Eagles, what is really contributing to the better play or the improvement from Carson Wentz?
Well, golly, there's so many things. I mean, first of all, it's just he's playing better. I mean, look, last year, I think when people criticized him last year, that was correct. That was appropriate. But he was a rookie, and you had to expect some improvement in the second season, and you're seeing some improvement in the second season. The receivers are better, but the offense is allowing him to throw deep more, and since it's allowing him to throw deep more, he's having more success throwing deep. I mean, usually, throwing deep leads to more success than doing nothing but throwing short, unless you're really accurate throwing short like Tom Brady is. So I think it's a combination of Wentz himself improving, the situation around him improving, and the offense letting him do more. But in a lot of ways, it's what you should expect for a top-drafted quarterback in his second year. They're supposed to improve.
All right, talking to Aaron Schatz, FootballOutsiders.com here on the right time. Now, do you have anything you can tell us about the differences in the Atlanta Falcons offense last year versus this year?
Well, I mean, I can tell you just from watching that game, and I think that the target numbers for the whole season will agree with this. Last year, they had so much success throwing to running backs, not dump-offs, but, deliberately planned routes by Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. And that just seems gone this year, and particularly was shocking to see that missing against the Patriots because the Patriots have a real weakness against that kind of thing. They're also, poor in the red zone this year. There was something like 28th in the red zone so far this season by our numbers, which accounts not only for just, not just touchdowns per red zone appearance, but also how often you get into a better field goal range, how often you turn the ball over. I mean, the offense is not bad. Their offense is 7th in the league by our numbers. It's not bad. It's just not as good as it was last year. The other problem for Atlanta is I think with all that young, fast talent, we all expected the defense to continue the improvement that we saw in the last few games of last season and in the playoffs. And instead, the defense has taken a step backwards. The defense has been really poor this year, especially against the run. They hope that it helps to have Atiyah Rubin there now. They signed him last week. Hopefully that allows them to have more depth at the defensive tackle position. But overall, the defense is just not playing well. So once the offense takes a step back, the defense needed to take a step forward to make up for that. It just hasn't done it.
All right, talking to Aaron Schatz of FootballOutsiders.com here on the right time. Now, looking at the league so far, is it the Browns that have just been unquestionably worse than anybody else?
Well, two teams are way behind everyone else in our numbers, and that's Cleveland and Indianapolis, right? Indianapolis is 2-5, but the 2 wins have come over the 2 winless teams, and in their other games, Indy's just gotten themselves spanked. But more than that, we have 8 teams that are way behind everyone else, right? So the gap between team 24 and 25 in our ratings is bigger than the gap between 17 and 24. There's just this awful 8 that's way behind everyone else. Even though some of these teams, I mean, Miami has a winning record, and they're still in our awful 8 because their losses were really bad and their wins have been so tight. But the Jets and Giants, the Bears, Miami, Arizona, especially now without Carson Palmer, San Francisco, Cleveland, and Indy are just much worse than the rest of the league so far this year. The rest of the league, everything is just kind of revolving around 3-3.
All right, that is Aaron Schatz. Check him out, footballoutsiders.com. Also joins us here about once a week on The Right Time. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Talk to you next week.
Fantasy sports just got a lot easier to play and win with the hottest new games by Dober.Games. No more long lineups or complicated salary caps. Create at least 3 matchups and you're good to go. Make any combination of matchups you want. Play all quarterbacks this week, receivers next week. Even make picks across multiple sports. Just pick 3 matchups to win cash prizes. Dober.Games is one of the fastest, easiest ways to play daily fantasy sports. That's DOBER.Games. Dober.Games. Use promo code SPORTS to enter a free contest with cash prizes just for joining. You can win cash fast, easy at Dober.Games. Sign up right now at Dober.Games. Use promo code SPORTS to enter a free contest with cash prizes just for joining. Void where prohibited. See site for restrictions. Must be of legal age in your state or area. Fantasy sports just got a whole lot easier to play. Play big, win bigger at Dober.Games.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
On the line with us now, former NBA star. Also saw him in the Big 3 this summer. You can also check out a podcast on Uninterrupted that he did talking to David Stern. His name is Al Harrington. Al, of course, you know we got to ask you first, man. How your granny doing?
Yeah, she good. She actually sitting right here. She said she got some words for you.
But she got no words? Why she got no words? She's the official granny of our show.
She good, brother. She real good, man. How you been, bro?
Hey, man, dude, I've been doing all right. I saw today you had the interview with David Stern where you talked about some of the things related to marijuana in the NBA. The first thing, how did that come together?
Man, I actually reached out to him earlier, like in January of this year. He said, come by my office, let's talk about it. So I came by the office, man. We sat down, we talked about it. I kind of just told him, how it's actually affected my life and, a lot of the people around me. And he was just like, wow, it's very interesting. And I was just like, would you be willing to kind of sit down in the interview and, kind of talk some of these issues through? And he said, yes. You know what I'm saying? So I had to take advantage of that opportunity, and I'm super grateful for him allowing me to do that.
Yeah, were you surprised that he was willing to go on record talking about some of these things?
I was definitely surprised, especially because he's a lawyer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But, but he was very open and honest, and like I said, I'm super, thankful for him, doing that.
Now, we're talking to Al Harrington here on The Right Time. Now, I think part of what made this interesting to me is a lot of people don't realize the NBA did not have a prohibition against marijuana until 1999, which was kind of late in the game for that. So what did he tell you about why they did that at the time?
Well, he was saying that it was because of the players. He said that, a bunch of players actually came to him and just said that they were very concerned that players were showing up to the games high. And he was just like, so the players are the ones that kind of, edged him on and, put that on the list and actually, increase the drug test from 1 to 4 because of that.
See, I found that part to be, I guess, a bit interesting because it's hard to think that the players were at the table like, and this you must put in here.
Well, I guess it was probably just the guys that, are just guys that are totally against marijuana. And, obviously, if guys are showing up to the games high, that's very irresponsible. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the things that, me and him really talked about was just like, when it's in a regulated market, I think it's just totally different. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I was just trying to find out, like, obviously he's not the commissioner anymore, but if he was, what would his stance be on it now that there's a lot of information out there that shows that, marijuana is definitely an alternative way to medicate people through a lot of different ailments and actually save lives.
We're talking to Al Harrington here on The Right Time. Now, with him saying that players are showing up to the games high 20 years ago, was that at all your experience and you played in the league?
I've never had a teammate show up to a game high. And, I've definitely had teammates that were marijuana users, and, they were always very professional.
All right, we're talking to Al Harrington here on The Right Time. Now, have you talked to Adam Silver about any of this?
No, not yet. He's next. So I think this was pretty much just a gateway kind of to open the door. And, he's like the next person that I'm actually going to give a call to just to kind of get in front of him and just kind of, let him know, exactly how I feel and some of the, the things that, I've learned, since I've been retired and, really been, diving into this, full time, and just kind of make him aware of some of the, the benefits of it and, just kind of open up that dialogue, see what he thinks.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned the term gateway because I heard David Stern make the point that he subscribed to the prevailing knowledge at the time, or what he called the prevailing knowledge, which was that marijuana was a gateway drug. What did you think when you heard him say that?
No, I mean, listen, I've heard it my whole life. He's not the first person. Like, when I look at him and he says that, it's like I'm sitting there talking to my grandmother. My grandmother was the same way. It felt like that marijuana was the thing that would spiral people to cocaine, all these other things, but that's actually contrary to what's going on, because I look at, like, places in California, one some of the biggest rehabilitation centers in the city of L.A. actually use cannabis to actually wean a lot of the people off of, the heroin and some of the really harsh drugs.
All right, we are talking to Al Harrington here on The Right Time. Now, have you talked to guys, anybody else, like executive level in other sports?
Not yet. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's been really difficult, for me with time, because I'm actually running my company on a daily basis, and the fact that, we're actually in 3 different states and possibly 2 more coming online within the next 2 months. I only have so much time in a day, but I'm actually making some strategic hires and different things now that's going to free me up, that I actually can now start going to meet with other people and, doing more shows like this with you and stuff like that to continue to raise this type of awareness.
Now, so the audience is, up to speed on this. What exactly is the business that you're running now?
So what I have is actually a hash company. So what we do is we make oils that are pretty much just concentrates. So we actually cultivate, which means we grow the flower, we extract it down into oils that you can put in vape carts, you can put in edibles, or you could do this procedure that they call dab, which actually the dance came from, was actually from people that actually consume cannabis. And we have the brand, which is Viola, which is my grandmother's name, and we're actually just pushing it. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to get on as many shelves as possible. And then my new project is Harrington Wellness, which will be a pure CBD company, which will not have THC in it at all, which will make creams, tinctures, protein powders, pre-post workout formulas, and stuff like that.
Now, was it difficult for you to get into that industry?
It wasn't difficult. My cousin, who was my business partner, he was the one that saw the vision initially. He came to me about possibly investing. And, he actually walked me through the process, walked me through the business, and I got to the point where I was comfortable enough to actually invest. I invested, and then once I retired, you know what I'm saying, I realized that my passion, the same passion I had to get up to go work out and go to a game, it's the same way I felt about, cannabis and growing this business. So I actually took a more active role, and I've been, like I said, at the end of the day, everyday thing for me, 7 days a week.
Now, did you have any difficulty taking him seriously? Because I think a lot of people hearing NBA players say his cousin wants him to get involved in selling weed, and that sounds like the horror stories from, like, the Broke documentaries.
Oh, you already know. I mean, my financial advisors were, like, totally against it. You know what I'm saying? It took me, like, 5 months to convince them that, what he was trying to do was, 100% legal in the state of Colorado.
We're talking to Al Harrington here on The Right Time. Now, you said something interesting when you talking about the products that were being made. You said that some of these products would be for pre- and post-workout, but I think for a lot of people it would be kind of hard to grasp the idea that cannabis would be helpful for workouts.
Yeah, well, it's actually the CBD is the part of that gives the benefits. You know what I'm saying? It just pretty much really.
Dad, did the Fed shut us down? Shaddy, did the Feds drop Al Harrington off the line?
I don't know what happened. The phone was kind of sketchy there. So
I just want to say say no to drugs in case that's what's happening out here, man. Like, you better say it too. Like, we need to make sure that everything is going the way that yeah. No, we don't need that. We got Al back. Oh, he's calling them. Okay. I think I'm really interested in this thing about, like, the workout weed.
And I was going to mention that. That's something that I hadn't heard prior, that's something that you would use pre- and post-workout.
Yeah. All right, we got Al Harrington back. Now, Al, before you dropped off, you were talking about the products for workouts.
Yeah, so like I said, so what it does is it provides an entourage effect, for relaxation and from the standpoint of, anti-inflammatory. You know what I'm saying? So so we're still working on the formulations and different things like that, but, I'm definitely really excited about bringing, those products to market.
All right, that is Al Harrington. Tell the people the name of the company again.
It's Viola Extracts and Harrington Wellness.
Hey, man, you tell Miss Viola I said hello and I wish her the best.
Will do. Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you, man.
No problem, man. You take it easy.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
So I saw something on the internet yesterday that said that Joel Berry, North Carolina, had broken his hand, and Roy Williams would not say how he was broken his hand. And I was so confused as to why it is anybody was asking Roy Williams questions about why Joel Berry had broken his hand. And then I found out Shannon Joel Berry is still in school. How long have you been there? I mean, are we sure he's even a senior? I feel like he's this year's, Perry Ellis Award winner? Like, is that a fair one? Because, the Robbie Hummel is completely different because Robbie Hummel was legitimately there for 6 years, right? But Perry Ellis, it just felt like he'd been there forever. And Joel Berry, didn't he come in early with the beard, too? So he always looked like he was about a redshirt junior or something like that. Anyway, he's still in school. We didn't know why the homie was going to be out with the broken hand. And then we found out, apparently Joel Berry was playing 2K with Theo Pinson and a manager. And Joel Berry wound up getting mad. And I believe he punched a door. And when he punched the door, his hand then wound up breaking. And I noticed something very interesting when this happened. When this happened, I expected that a whole lot of people would just be laughing at the dude, right? Like, you remember that time Amari Stoudemire tore his hand up, punching the fire extinguisher? Wasn't that during the playoffs, Shannon?
Lost that fight.
It was in Miami, right? It was in the playoffs, though. I had that. It was in the playoffs. You think he put it in red wine to make it better? Didn't he like to lay up in a? That's the richest thing ever, by the way. Right? Is there anything richer than just bathing in a tub full of wine? Anyway, people didn't seem to laugh at Joel Berry under these circumstances. And it seems that they did not laugh at Joel Berry because, well, either A, some of you have done that, or B, wanted to do it yourselves. Shannon, which one are you?
So it wasn't a door per se, but I did break But I did break my TV this one time playing live back in college.
How'd you break your TV?
The game was cheating. The game was cheating, man. I had Tim Duncan, who was on the cover of Live 2000. I was doing my thing like always. And for some reason in this game, the game was cheating. Tim Duncan couldn't make a layup, a dunk. He was getting abused by, I think, Tom Gugliotta. I think I was playing against the Timberwolves or somebody. And the game was cheating. So I got mad. I slammed the controller down. I slammed my hand on top of the TV. And the TV said, phew.
Also, can we get back to I was doing my thing as usual? What does that mean?
Tim Duncan was on the cover of the game. He was pretty good.
You was doing your thing as usual. As usual, right? That's what we call it.
I'm just saying, had I been a mediocre player at the time, I wouldn't have been as upset. But because I was good at the game, or at least I thought I was, then I knew that the game was cheating when he couldn't make a layup or a dunk in that one particular game.
Dog, video games, man. Why do video games bring out the worst in us in this way? They do that. See, me and my brother. So, my brother, who, by the way, had his 50th birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, even though he's in the Bahamas and certainly not listening to us. But he's 13 years older than me. And since he's 13 years older than me, there's only but so many things that we could do together, right? And so I was the one who hipped him to Tecmo Bowl because the cat I went to, in elementary school was telling me about the Tecmo Bowl. I bought the Tecmo Bowl from him. Then I went and got the Tecmo Bowl myself. And then me and my brother, Christmas breaks would just be all Tecmo Bowl. We would spend hours and hours and hours. And the thing that made it, like, when you play somebody that much, what you wind up with is not, okay, you win one, now I win one, or whatever it is. It winds up being streaks, right? It'll be like, okay, I win this one, and then I win more games for like 2 straight days. Maybe 3 straight games, and then somebody figures out what the adjustment is, right? And then they come back and they win for days. You know what that means? Getting beat down day after day. Whoo, boy, I threw that controller so many times, bro. Because that was the big one, man. Throwing that controller, and when I was little, my temper game was all the way thrown off, man. Indefensibly bad. Oh, man, and my brother doesn't get mad at anything, right? You just have him walk, man, I just can't do this right now, man. I just can't. Like, what is it about video games? Because the problem with video games is, you know what it is? Video games give us the illusion of control, right? Like, video games make us believe that we're in control of everything, but in the end, all you can do is click the button, and once you click the button, you got no say-so of what the game gonna do. You're nodding your head, huh, Shannon?
I'm not the only one out there that got that upset that either broke a controller and or a television because the game was cheating.
Oh, no. Joel Berry shows us. You think he's the only person to break his hand? You think he's the only person that's punched a wall or any such thing like that? You think he is? Because I don't think he is. I think we got a lot of people out here that got their stories that they can hit us up with about the time they kirked out over that video game. I know y'all got the stories about the time that y'all kirked out over these video games. And it's a whole generational thing, man. If you are like 40 and under, especially if you got, like, not everybody had this. It's one thing to be in the video game generation. It's another thing to be in the college video game generation where it's all these cats in there and the noise talk is getting vicious, but you don't really know those cats like that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't. Ooh, man, we used to get so heated playing those video games. Let's hit the phones. 888-729-3776. Talk to Colby in Pennsylvania. Colby, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, what's going on, Bo?
Doing all right?
All right, man. I've been throwing controllers, of course, from Madden since I was probably 12 years old. So I get back in the video game world for PS4. I got a 2K, and I think I'm good. And then something stupid happens. And I thought I had it figured out, so I threw the controller on my couch, to break the fall. Man, that thing bounced, put a hole in the wall. I still haven't told my girl about it.
Hold up. You threw it on the couch and it bounced?
Yeah, I threw it on the couch because, it gets the anger out throwing it, but
yes.
It bounced off the couch and hit the wall, and I'm like, oh, man. But I haven't told her yet.
How long has it been?
About 3 weeks.
How long you think you can pull this off?
When I get it fixed, I'll say something.
No, I think you probably should just not say anything. I think it's probably best for you to act like nothing happened.
All right, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll take your advice.
Pro tip. Appreciate the call, man.
He thought he had it all figured out. It was like, look, if I slam the remote, I'll just throw it up against the couch and I'll be good.
Yes. And by the way, the other way this could get worse for him, if it turns out that she does, in fact, listen to this show. Because she love your boy. 888-729-776 on the Tyler in Ohio. Tyler, thanks for calling the right time.
All right, so, Bo, you're going to like this one. So I've already lost 2 games of 2K in a row to my best friend, my roommate in college. Play a third game. Got money on it. I get beat on a half-court shot by Dwight Howard. And what freaked No. What freaked my roommate out so much was how calm I was. I calmly unplugged my Xbox controller, walked out of the apartment complex, found the biggest brick I could find, and just smashed the mess out of it. And walked back in like nothing happened. Take my call, Bo.
Thank you for making the call. And Shannon, you know how I knew he was real? I knew he was real when I said something. He goes, no.
It was real because he could tell you exactly who he was playing against and how he lost that game. Dwight Howard hitting a half-court shot.
Right, but look, no is one thing. No is another, but no. Like, that's when you know somebody's like, no. Like, anytime you get that back-to-back-to-back to rapid fire, no. That's how you know it's real.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
We're talking about Joel Berry of North Carolina breaking his hand, punching the door because of a video game. I wish I know more about exactly what happened in that video game, by the way, Shannon. They just said he punched it because of a video game. I need to know exactly what happened.
Here's the thing, though. You lost it to one of your teammates. So you know Theo Pence giving him the work all season long about this, too.
All the time. Also, I have had a broken hand before, and I broke in a similar way. Can he still play a video game, though? Like, you think they said it so he can still play?
What hurts him more now, possibly not being able to play on the court or not being able to play video games with that broken hand?
Ooh, tough call. We asked you guys to call in with your video game meltdown stories, and ooh, boy, it appears we got some doozies. 888-729-3776. So to Brandon in Ohio. Brandon, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, thanks, man. Hey, I love your show. I listen every day after work.
Thank you, man.
It was probably like that. We were playing Madden 99 back in high school, me and my buddy that I played football with in high school. And he intercepted a pass that would have won the game for me, and I threw my controller down at the ground or the floor, and it hit him and right on the foot. And then he pretty much picked me up and powerbombed me on top of my PlayStation and broke my PlayStation.
Yikes.
Because he was this big offensive lineman that we played with. He was like 6'3", like 300 pounds. Big dude.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the call, Brandon. It sounded like he had enough. I thought it was going to be about, just the civil destruction of property, not, you then being destroyed onto the property. Whose PlayStation was it that got broken, though? I guess I missed that part. Was it his PlayStation or the other guy's PlayStation? It was his own? Wow, I guess you can't even ask the man to pay for it. 888-729-3776. Oh, let's go with Jeff in Indiana. Jeff, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, thanks. Love the show.
Thank you, man.
I was playing Madden with my dad on PlayStation 2 back in the early 2000s.
You were playing with your dad?
Yeah, he picked the Browns because he said the computer would make the Browns better. I smoked him with the Saints. About 20 minutes later, I walked upstairs and I heard a boom. He took my PlayStation 2 out in the backyard and shot it with a shotgun.
Dang, was he always a sore loser?
No, just an avid Browns fan.
Hey, man, I'm surprised he hadn't shot the television sooner. I appreciate the call. 888-729-3776, Ben in Pennsylvania. Thanks for calling the right time.
Bo, what's happening?
Doing all right, man.
All right, so I was probably 8, 10 years old and had the Nintendo. And I was the kid that always liked to send the records into Nintendo Power, and I was playing Duck Hunt. And you know how when you would miss those ducks, that stupid dog would jump up and laugh at you?
Mm-hmm.
I had been almost ready to get to level 99, missed a duck. That dog jumped up. I'd been trying it all day, got so mad, walked up to the TV and slammed that zapper into the TV screen and put the zapper through the screen.
How'd it go with your parents?
Not well.
How not well are we talking?
Not well. Lost the Nintendo for about 6 months. Had to save up money doing chores around the house to buy a new TV for the toy room. Yeah, it was not my finest moment.
Hey, I got to say I appreciate the call, Shannon. I don't know about you, but it sounds like it went better with the parents than I expected. All I heard about was saving money and working as opposed to icing up.
Oh, no, I knew it was all good for him when he said the toy room.
Yes. I thought he was going to have to ice up, son. Ice up. Should we take the one more? We'll take the one more. 888-729-3776. Danny, South Carolina. Thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bo, love the show, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, so a couple years back, I'm playing just, by myself, season mode, some Madden football. My Buffalo Bills are about to go undefeated. I score to take the lead, kick off, and they run it back for a touchdown. So I take that remote, and I throw it right through the doorway into the kitchen. At the same time, my wife's little chihuahua comes walking by, and I bust that thing right in the head.
Ooh.
And my wife's in the kitchen. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What'd
Just
she say?
FYI, we are currently separated. So.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. At least you don't have to worry about the Chihuahua anymore. I appreciate the call. 888-729-3776 is our phone number. Switching gears and sticking with the laughs, it appears that the NFL players that's trying to, make some peace with the owners on the demonstrations and stuff like that, they're going to meet with the owners again, and they have invited Colin Kaepernick to come to meet with the owners. The players have done this, and I understand why the players think that this is probably a good thing to do. At the same time, Shannon, do they know that he is suing them? Like, I feel like once you sue somebody, y'all don't meet. Do I have this wrong?
Meet in person, no. Usually that's just handled by the lawyers at that point.
Yeah, like once you sue somebody, we're not really supposed to be in the same room. If there's any legal matter that needs to be adjudicated involving a dispute between the two of us, then no. I don't think I'm going to be the one to come here. The other part is not like he's suing them off some nonsense. He's suing them because he thinks he's being blackballed from the league. What I'm gonna come talk to you about to help y'all do something if y'all can't help me get no job? You know what I'm saying? Like how is that supposed to work? Yeah, you guys won't give me a job doing what I am a professional at doing, and I'm better than all of these cats. But sure, I'll come in and talk to you guys about social justice. Shannon, have they not demonstrated pretty clearly they don't care about his level of social justice?
Right, no. They're only concerned pretty much with the war on football. That's pretty much it. But social justice, that's secondary for them.
Kaepernick go show in there be just mean mugging, right? Like, wouldn't that be what you would do under those circumstances? Would you not just be sitting in there with your arms folded, just staring at people? I have my foot on the table. I don't even work here. You know what I'm saying? What respect I got to show you?
You know how hard it would be for me not to have my phone out during that and just up there on Twitter the whole time? Or playing doodle jump or something?
I'm sending pictures, right? Like, I'm sending memes of the pictures in the room. And let me tell you what I'm definitely not doing. I'm definitely not showing up wearing no suit. Although I get the feeling Kaepernick, when's the last time you think Colin Kaepernick put on a pair of slacks? Right? Like, when do you think the last time is that he did that? Kaepernick gonna show up in that bad boy in a Huey Newton t-shirt with some red, black, and green Air Force Ones and some shades. And the only reason he won't be wearing a beret is because he can't fit one on that afro. That's it. In fact, that's what he need to do, Shannon. Show up in that bad boy in a black leather jacket and some shades. Perhaps an African medallion.
He ended every sentence with my brother.
Yes, Ed come in the door rapping the lyrics to his favorite X-Clan song. Yeah, I think the X-Clan might be going a little bit too far. The X-Clan, yeah, maybe that's not a thing. But I invite him for what? Look at how mad I would be if I got that call with Colin. We about to go talk to the owners. We was wondering if I could do what? We just thought you might want to. Thought I might want to do what? Right, if I'm going to show up at the NFL offices, it better be to sign a contract to involve actually playing football. But I'm not about to be here helping save your souls. You must be crazy.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
We've been taking you guys' phone calls about your video game meltdowns, and Shannon told us a story of one of his video game meltdowns. But something better than hearing Shannon tell a story of his video game meltdown is Shannon's wife telling the story of witnessing Shannon's video game meltdown. Yeah, I mean, you really saw that man break the television?
I did see him uppercut the TV once.
It was an uppercut.
The game was cheating, man.
So we're sitting, if I can share the story, we're sitting there in his room per his usual routine, him and a college buddy, and they're listening to Erykah Badu on, I believe it was Napster or something, and playing the video game. And lo and behold, Shannon loses or makes a bad move and jumps up and hits the TV. And the TV totally goes black. So we're all sitting there in silence like, what is going on? And just kind of busted out laughing like, did this dude just break the TV over losing the game?
Well, the part I was waiting on is when you started laughing at him, because I had to figure it had to come.
It had to come because we weren't expecting it. Just went silent, and it's just kind of like, did he really just break the TV? Like, we busted out, started laughing at each other like, what in the world is going on? Is it really that serious?
Well, also, you like laughing at him in his moments of pain. Like, I had it today. I sent Shannon the clip. You remember that time the Eagles made that comeback, and you pulled up the pregame show on the internet and made him watch it? I sent him that today.
We watch that annually. We watch that annually in our household. Michael Vick, I mean, how many seconds was it? I mean, how many touchdowns were they down with? Like 8 minutes, Shannon, was it? And he still can't stand to watch that.
Are you asking me? You know the answers to these questions. These are rhetorical questions. You know the answer. Don't ask me.
Was it 3 touchdowns that they were losing by?
It was like 24 points.
Shannon, why are you so far away from the microphone right now? We want to hear from you.
Yeah, I got it. I'm over here.
I mean, he told me about you pulling up the pregame show, and I just imagine him walking around that hotel like trying not to punch somebody.
Yes, exactly. Till this day, Deshaun Jackson, I'm sure, is not his favorite player just by how he turned around and kind of leaned back into the end zone on him. It was just hilarious.
Oh, Shannon, you remember that part? I forgot about that. Remember he ran all the way down the goal line and then kind of went in backwards?
Oh, man.
And Shannon was saying before it even happened, Shannon was like, do not kick it to Jackson. Do not kick the ball to Jackson. And he kicked it right to Jackson.
And then he dropped it. And so you thought you had a chance. And then he got it back.
Right there, look, I was right there with Tom Coughlin. I was like, Matt Dodge, listen to me now, believe me later. Do not kick it to Deshaun Jackson. I kept repeating that. Kick it to the sideline. Don't kick it to Deshaun Jackson, Matt Dodge.
And I think the best part about this is, while y'all been went to college with Michael Vick, you don't even root for the Eagles. Like, it's not even your team.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
Shannon's getting mad all over again. He just walked out the room. I have to thank you so much for this positive contribution that you have made to our program. And please tell your sister we still good. I messed with her a little bit about my alma mater beating her new school, and she ain't taking it as well as I was hoping.
Oh, wow.
I misunderstood.
All right, thank you.
No problem. You take it easy. 888-729-3776. Shannon, I ain't never heard your wife laugh that much in my life.
Just the part about the whole thing was the silence. It wasn't like a 5-second, 10-second. It was almost a minute of total silence because neither of them wanted to say anything because they saw how upset I was. And I'm sitting there pacing. I'm mad. And then they just looked at each other and started laughing.
See, I love these stories about you being mad because I've never seen you mad. Except for right now, I see you mad. You're kind of mad right now.
We don't have anybody on the line right now. All these calls that we had last segment, and there's no one on the line that wasn't talking about their stories about how the video game was cheating.
Shannon's over here right now staring at the ceiling like 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me?
We don't have a heart out or anything we can get to.
Okay, you want to get to some story time? So we talked about this yesterday where we talked about Josh Jackson, right? Josh Jackson said he was not pretending to shoot a gun at that fan, even though everybody thought that he was pretending to shoot a gun at that fan. He got fined $35,000. And I was thinking to myself that was one of the more outrageous lies I've ever heard anybody tell before. And then I thought about it, and I was like, well, I guess I've told a more outrageous lie than that. You want to hear the most outrageous lie I ever told? Hit the music. All right, so check this, right? I told this on the air before, but even if you heard it, you want to hear it again. So I was in high school, and I had met this girl with my homeboy, and I remember that I had given her the number to my pager, and she called me 10 times in 30 minutes, and it was kind of spooky. And so I was like, nah, I'm not really feeling her. It's no big deal. So it's Thanksgiving week, right? It's Wednesday night. I'm at my homeboy's house. We upstairs playing Madden 96 on the Genesis. And he goes and takes a call. And so after he takes the call, he comes back. He's like, yo, old girl just called. I'm like, oh, man. He's like, nah, but don't worry. She was trying to catch up with you, but I told her that your family was in Louisiana for the Bayou Classic for the holiday. I'm like, cool. So it's the day after Thanksgiving. You know, we teenagers. The mall was the place to be back in that day. So we at the mall. We walking. And who do I see walking up? But old girl. And I'm with my homeboy. And I'm like, yo, turn around. Yo, turn around. Yo, turn around. He doesn't turn around. I break out. He's not with me by the time I realize it, but I have now broken out. I'm just getting somewhere else in the mall. I don't know what I'm supposed to do because I'm supposed to be out of town. So give it maybe an hour. I've been walking around. I've been seeing other people I knew. And finally, I walk up in a place, and I see the two of them, and I'm prepared to be like, you know what? I just got to own up to this lie, right? I got no option. I just got to own up to this lie. I'm walking up. My homeboy looks at me, and he goes, hey, yo, Patrice. And like I instantly knew what was going on, man. I got up to him. It's the two of them standing there. And he goes, oh, hey, this is Bomani's twin brother, Patrice. And she's like, he has a twin? I'm like, yeah, you got a twin. I can't stand that dude. He meet all the girls, man. I'm tired of that. And so I just like assumed this whole new personality of this other person named Patrice. And I carried that lie for months because like 3 months later, we went to a party and she was there. She introduced me to somebody and she was like, oh, my God, he has a twin brother that looks just like him. Shannon, how'd you describe that yesterday? He threw me the no-look alley-oop.
No-look alley-oop from half court.
In traffic at the buzzer. Right? That was the whole thing about it. Like, you know the friendship that you have to have the synergy on a lie like that the second he threw that name out, I was like, oh, I'm going to pretend to be my brother. And I pretended to be my brother. To this day, I don't think that girl has any idea. Anyway, if you know her, let her know I don't have a twin brother. Sorry about that.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.